Now last week and this week I talked about the canons of the Bibles. How do the Bible came into the picture? I'd like to review a little. From last week I talked to you about the Old Testament canons. How many books were there in the Catholic Bibles? 46, very good. How many are there in the Protestant Bible? 39, very good. And the 7 of them missing. Well, there's a main reason for that is the Catholic used the translation of the Greeks called, and last week I didn't want to mention that word, but they call it Septuagint. It means 70s, okay? That's the Greek translations of the Hebrew Bibles about 200 years before Christ. That was when, like the Catholic Council, councils of all the rabbis from the 12 tribes of Israel, where the term Septuagint came in from. It's been 70 or 72 of them came from the 12 tribes of Israel. 6 of them in every tribe, they came together, they do the translations, and then they decided those are the book should be what we call the Bible. The term coming later. Now, about 300 years after Christ, it's been about 500 years after that. Another group of the Jewish rabbis came in. Remember by that time the culture had changed, and the politics and all those things coming in, and they said, well, I think they get it wrong the first time, let me do it again. Okay? And that's where they gather, and then they look for, and they say that's 39, and that's where the Protestant Bible came from. The reason why the Jewish rabbis came in 500 years later, they based on a few different things. But one of the things is that they couldn't find the Hebrew translations of that 7 books. You see what I'm trying to say? They said, well, it was not in Hebrew, so therefore there can't be. Now, there are 2 things that I want to bring up to your attention. The first one is that while they couldn't find in Hebrews what was translated from Hebrew to Greek 500 years before. But as you know, you remember what they call the Dead Sea Scroll came about 10-15 years ago. They found fractures, not all of them, but some of the writings that they said they could not find Hebrews in that called Dead Sea Scroll. Now that's the Old Testament canons. Now come to the New Testament. How many books are there in the New Testament? Well, first of all, let's do the definition of the New Testament first. New Testament is anything written after Christ. Now, the first book in the New Testament probably written about year 50 AD. That's the first letter of St. Paul to the Thessalonians. Okay? The last book being written about year 90 to 100 AD. What is the last book in the Bible? The book of Revelations. Now, try to understand Revelation. Good luck, okay? But that's why it's called Revelation. It takes time, to reveal. Revelation, reveal, came from the word reveal. So those are the books being written. Both the Catholics and the Protestants agree on the same number of books. Okay? So what's the point of talking about here? One of the things that I want to bring to your attention is that well, because of who gave the book in the New Testament, who decided they are the book in the Bible? The early Catholic Christians. Up to the first 400 centuries, there are many councils, and they all agree on the number of books. Now, they didn't have what they call the Jewish rabbis, gather together. So therefore, Luther and the Reformers didn't have a choice. You see what I'm trying to say? They didn't have a choice. They didn't have anywhere they lean on. But one of the things that the book that they rarely talk about, what book? The letter of James. Why? James talked about the good, faith alone that saved you, but James talked about the good works. Yes. James in his letter talks a lot about the good works, and they don't like it. But there's nothing they can remove it because, and then here's a funny thing that I sometimes wonder. They accept the Catholic Church authority on who decides on the Bible, right? But they don't accept the church authority on other things. And if we have that authority to decide what book will inscribe, that would be the highest authority of all. Isn't that? when I do funerals or something, that most of them are non-Catholics. I always say the Lord's Prayer, and at the end I always add it on, Thy is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Now, you wonder, did we cut the prayer short, or they have it right? Did they add it on, or we cut it short? Now, if you look at that, well, if you look from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 6, that's when they talk about the Lord's Prayer, okay? They have that part in there, okay? That Thy is the kingdom. But if you look at the Gospel of Luke, chapter 11, they have none of that in there. There's no Thy is the kingdom, Thy is the powers in there. Now, if that two comparison, and then since you see you put parallel the Gospel of Matthew chapter 6, and then begin with the verse 11, okay? And then chapter 11 begin with verse 1 of the Gospel of Luke. Jesus talk about, teach me how to pray. Since Luke have no Thy is the kingdom, Thy is the power, they end it, but deliver us from evil, okay? Now, if you look at that one and the Gospel of Matthew, and you go back and read Matthew, actually that are two separate things. They don't connect together. Because they begin another one of it. Those are the little things that I want to share with you for you to understand about the Bible. My question is, the Bible just didn't come out from heaven. It dropped, boom, down. You know, up to the 4th century, they did a lot of debates. A lot of books in there, at first they question, should they be in there? Like the book of Revelation. Okay? And all the books that's not in there, they finish, it should be there. The Gospel according to Peter. You know, the Gospel according to Thomas. If you read that Gospel according to Thomas, I love it. Because Jesus do all miracles like a miraculous book. You know, one of the story, I think it's from Thomas I read, was really like Jesus was like 12 years old playing with a group of kids. And one of the snakes, you know, came up and bite one of his friends. And he told the snake, be good. And then he took the snake and he walked, and the snake followed him, go home to see his mother Mary. And he said, now bow to my mother and say sorry. And the snake do that, you know, like those things. I would like to have those things. But again, that the church have decided by the end of the 400th century that those are the book in the New Testament. And the Protestant also accept those are the book in the Testament. My thing is that sometimes I not question, but I ask them, I say, well, you accept our authority to tell you what books in the Bible. But then the rest of that, you say, well, I don't want you to tell me. You know what I mean? But again, they don't have in the Old Testament something to lean on. So we and them have the same number of books in the New Testament, but they don't talk a lot about the book of St. James, the letter of James, because they talk a lot about the good works. And that's all for today. And hopefully next week I will find something else to talk. I haven't got any questions yet. If I have no question, I stop teaching. Okay?